I'm very focused, again, because of my interest in the city as a thing, as a concept. I'm very, very focused on neighborhoods. And in that context, I certainly seek out neighborhoods which I think have a lot of underlying value that maybe is not being necessarily tapped into. And then I believe in focusing on those areas, and while evolving the economic structure of those neighborhoods, also transferring that to many social endeavors. There's a balance that we need to play. There's a dynamic here involved. There's an economic component, and there's a social component. And the thing is this: if you are creative enough, I think you can release so much value that maybe is not readily apparent. If you're creative enough, I think you can find a way to serve both causes, and by serving both causes, creating a bigger effect on both causes. In other words, by doing real estate a certain way, you can push a social agenda, but at the same time make it economically more viable, more interesting, and more feasible. My business, what motivates and inspires me, what compels me to push forward, to push, is the fact that to me I have a higher purpose, and I'm inspired by something much larger than just making a dollar. And I am the supreme and utmost adherent to capitalism. But at the same time, I believe strongly that there's more to it. And I mentioned that my philosophy is to live passionately and aggressively. Well, to me, the passion is not in the dollar. The passion is in what one can create and the legacy one can leave in one's city, in one's environment. It's the benefit that you can bring to your friends, to your family, and to your community. Every deal is a battle of wills. And when I mean a deal, I don't mean just on the simpler real estate front, but then also in a civic setting. And I can, currently, we're certainly engaging in many initiatives, and a lot of those are battles of one form or the other. And in many cases, I feel that we're fighting differences of opinion which might not be so well informed. And I respect them, but I feel that they might not truly understand the implications of the decisions, and that is definitely a fight of the wills. So my vision for Little Havana is that maintains that cultural dynamism, that maintains that authenticity and sense of place, while at the same time allowing itself to evolve in such a fashion that the economic underpinnings support development at a very human scale, at a very medium density scale, and that it supports a sort of fertile environment for local, homegrown, locally dynamic and unique boutique sort of businesses. The zoning change has gotten some pushback, and frankly, I respect those opinions. I mean, as steadfast and convinced and as firm as I am on what I think and what I feel and what I believe in, again, the city, the neighborhood is a communal project. We're in this together, and we need to work together. And I've gotten pushback. Actually, I mean, it's funny because much of the pushback has been specifically about things that I am fighting to avoid. For example, one of the pushbacks that I get is a thought that the zoning change will make Little Havana West Berkeley, which is entirely false, entirely impossible, and also something that I will fight tooth and nail to ever prevent. Number one, the scale and the density and the height of this zoning amendment is nowhere near Berkeley. Legally, it's limited to 5 stories, but really, if you study the density of a typical Little Havana lot is about 7,000 square foot. Based on that metric, the size of a building you can build there, if the amendment passes, would be about 10 units. An average Little Havana apartment of new construction is about 850 square foot. In 2 floors, maybe 3, you're done. You're maxed out. So really, you're talking about, include some parking and this and that. You're talking about three to 4 story buildings at the very, very most. That's not Brickell. And in fact, if you think about, again, going back to the concept of the most wonderful signature neighborhoods in the world, whether it's Venice, whether it's Montmartre in Paris, whether it's North End in Boston, whether it's West Village in New York, those are 4 story buildings, those are 5 story buildings, those are 3 story buildings. It doesn't go beyond that. So the work that we're doing in Little Havana and the improvement of Little Havana ultimately will have a strong effect in areas like the Civic Center and A La Para. It goes without saying that everything that's happening downtown and in Wynwood has a strong effect on Overtown. These things, we cannot look at one area, or we cannot look at our city in isolation. There's all these moving parts. It's a patchwork of fascinating neighborhoods, and we need to be working on all of them to create something truly significant.